Okay, boys and girls, it looks like everyone has finished checking their skills block. Before we take the test, what I'd like to do is take a few minutes to preview it. First thing I'd like you to do is please look down at your paper, make sure you've put your first name, last name, and date. Today is January 31st. And while I'm thinking about it, this is the last day in January, so when you finish your test and after you self-correct and turn it into the basket, I'll have you get a laptop so that you can do Achieve articles. This will be the last day. I will pull a report tomorrow morning on your January Achieve articles, and that will be a grade in the grade book. Okay. The first passage in this test today is an article called the Sarasota Chalk Festival, and that article is on page 1 and the top of page 2. The second passage is a story called Just Like Home, and that's on page 2 and page 3 and a little bit on page 4. Now don't forget the strategies we've been talking about, marking the text. In the nonfiction article, you'll want to apply those strategies of breaking it into parts, jotting in the white space. In the story, you'll want to keep track of your thinking about the character, or maybe some jotting things down about what's happening in the story, and your inferences. Now, before you read the texts, I want you to know what it is you'll be required to do. It says, using information from both texts, explain one way the article, the Sarasota Chalk Festival, and the passage, Just Like Home, are similar, and one way they are different. Be sure to support your answer with specific details from both texts. And I want you to remember what we did. Remember the work that we did after the previous reading comprehension test to try to improve our written responses. How important it is for us to go back into the text, lift out those important keywords. I will tell you that I identified, actually I stopped at 7. There were many that I could identify, and you need 5 of those keywords. You need 5 keywords. Today, when you self-correct, the keywords are actually right on that little slip. Just put a little check mark or circle if you use that word in your answer. And it says right there on the self-correcting paper that you need 5 keywords. So now that you know what the question is asking you as you're reading, you should be marking the text and looking for the similarities and the differences. Okay, on page 6, you have questions 2, 3, and 4. On page 7, you have questions 5, 6, and 7. 7 asks you about text structure. Remember, you can go into your binder at any time during this test to refer to the charts that you have in there. So if you're unsure, please do not guess. Please open up your binder and take out your chart. On page 8, we start with question number 8. Please go ahead and read that question in your head and circle the important word that you need to know in order to get this question correct. If you don't know, then you might want to start being concerned and pay close attention when you take the test and get to question number 8. The rest of page 8 has question number 9 and number 10. On page 9, question 11 is one of those sequence questions where you have to put the events in the order in which they happened in real time, not when they happened in the story, but in real time, and you're going to use the numbers 1 to 7. So 1 is for the event that happened first. What strategy did we learn that will help us answer this question? Alexander? a timeline. Creating a timeline with the events that are listed as choices and place them in real time on the timeline. You can do that here. You have some space up above. If you'd rather do it on the last page of the story, you can do it there as well. So you'll want to keep track of the events. Everybody who used a timeline last time got this question correct, so it's a good strategy. Then you have question 12. It has a part A and a part B. Okay, it asks you to infer in part A, and then it asks you to choose the sentence. And notice that you have bubbles. There are 3 different sentences in this paragraph. You're going to choose, it says, which sentence from the paragraph supports your answer? Meaning, which sentence proves your answer? Which sentence helped you figure it out? And you're going to bubble that in. On page 10, you have questions 13, 14, and 15. On page 11, you have question 17, which has a part A and a part B. Part A is asking you what a word means in the way that it's used in the sentence. Part B asks you to underline the words that helped you to figure that out. The page ends with 18 and 19. On page 12, you have questions number 20 and 21. On page 13, the article, What is Chalk, begins on page 13, and I want to draw your attention to what is down here in the bottom of the page. What are these called? Oliver? Footnotes. And you'll notice that there is a number, and that number will correspond to a word that's in the article. Now, be careful, guys. The article ends at the top of page 14. So go ahead and kind of draw a line. So that you will remember to read what's above that line, because that's part of the article. Then you have question number 22 on page 14. Then you have, on page 15, you have 23, 24, 25. On the back page, page 16, you have questions 26, 27, and 28. Remember that you have as much time as you need to take this test. However, you must finish it before we switch. And today is an early release day. I will write down the time that we switch on the board. And you do have to finish this test prior to that. When you finish, you're going to come to the table. And Skylar, since you haven't done this self-correcting, I'll guide you through it. But you'll come to the table if there's an empty seat. And you will use the self-correcting sheet to correct your work so that you can get some immediate feedback on how you did. Then you'll staple it to the corner, place it in the basket, get a computer, and go and do achieve. Work on achieve articles. Now, just a couple of things that you're going to want to know. I did put the writing scores for the mock FSA into the grade book, and it caused some of you to drop in your grade. So you're going to want to make sure that you're doing a really good job, taking extra care, double checking your work, so that you can get a really good score to go in for your reading comprehension test. And then you want to do the same thing when you're doing your achieve articles. Make sure you open up those achieve articles, go back and find your answer before you choose. Because that achieve grade should help everybody. Remember, I take the average of the top 4 articles for the month. So that achieve grade should help everybody. And I am going to do a book log check. I'm not going to be here Friday. I will do a book log check next week because we're already at the midterm. Okay, any questions about the reading comprehension test before everybody gets to work? Okay, go ahead and get started.